of organized labor activity in L.A., including already striking writers, actors, and hotel workers. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Trucking company Yellow Corporation has declared bankruptcy after years of financial struggles and growing debt. The Chapter 11 of bankruptcy comes just 3 years after Yellow received $700 million in pandemic-era loans from the federal government.
One in Indiana, another in Arkansas. It will shift production to other facilities by the middle of next year as it works to cut costs. Tyson lost more than $400 million in the recent quarter. It's been trying to cut costs through layoffs, plant closures, and updating its operations. Tyson already shut down chicken facilities in Arkansas and Virginia in May and laid off approximately 1,700 workers. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
William Friedkin, who directed The French Connection and The Exorcist, has died. Friedkin, who won the Oscar for The French Connection, died at his Los Angeles home after a long illness, according to his son. He was 87. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox
WDXE talking Tennessee. Kip Capley. We're back, baby. How are y'all doing?
Doing good, buddy. What about you?
Good. I'm here with my good friend Lawrence Sutton and the SEC All-Star, Mr. Chris Morris. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Just trying to survive the storms for the last 3 or 4 days.
I hear you. West Tennessee got hit hard, didn't they?
Man, I tell you what, we got hit pretty hard too.
Yeah.
We had. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to give. We want to tell when things go good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you. At about 2:30 in the morning, Saturday going into Sunday morning, we had lightning hit. It hit right at my house. I mean, within 100 foot of my house. Knocked the power out. So, what do? We call the power company. I told my wife, I said, we might get it on sometime Sunday afternoon or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. They had our power back on within an hour.
Wow.
That's great.
Shout out Lawrence County. That's what I'm talking about.
Shout out to LUS.
LUS, that's
right.
LUS,
shout out.
There you go.
That's incredible.
Shout out to Strikers.
Shout out to Strikers.
While we're thinking about it.
That's right. If you had anything good to eat.
2 wonderful young ladies.
That's right.
Got a little thing called the Happy Factory. Great food, let me tell you. Strikers, you need to be talking to them about some desserts up there.
The Happy Factory. We've had some good stuff in here. Got some Skittles and peanut. What is this? M&Ms. Well, we've got all kind of good stuff in here.
That banana bread, though, I don't even like bananas, but I eat banana bread.
I did eat some of it. It's moist and delicious.
Very moist.
It was very, very good. Absolutely. But
and shout out to these 2 12-year-old twins of yours for this cooking.
That's right.
Man, they can cook, can't they?
That's absolutely right. They sure can.
That's great. Great.
Absolutely. Well, we got a lot to talk about. So let's just dive on in.
Yeah, let's talk about your Saturday, Chris.
Yeah,
I heard through the grapevine that you laid the hammer down at the Tennessee Republican State Executive Committee meeting. Where was that at? Mount Juliet?
Yeah, we held it over in Mount Juliet. We kind of rotated around. In December, Kip, we had it on the House floor.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Then in April, we had it out in Murfreesboro.
Yep.
So they kind of spin it around because everybody has to come across the great state of Tennessee from Mountain City to Tiptonville to Memphis to Chattanooga. So we all convene, and they tried to have it somewhere in the center of the state to try to help folks out. I think it's great. Enjoy it. But, yeah, I dropped a hammer, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, so I want you to tell us a little bit about what happened because, I talked with my executive member today, Johnny Bellis, and we were on the phone probably 20 minutes, discussing the meeting, and and I got informed of you and you brought a resolution that to have Bill Lee cancel the special session. I want you to tell us about it because I think that is incredible and I think that is awesome.
Well, you never know. You got to be careful. I'm not going to tiptoe around anything. I'm going to get straight to the heart and the meat and potatoes and heart of the matter.
Come on with it.
But anyway, as we're going through our meeting, and in communications, I didn't want to say, well, you should have brought that up in communications. So I kind of let the cat out of the bag early. And I said, hey, I want to bring up a resolution. I want the governor of the great state of Tennessee, there's no need for this special session, and especially with red flag laws, because my Constitution and my God-given Constitution and everybody's doesn't mention anything about red flag laws.
And for those listening at home, he's holding up a copy of the Constitution.
Hardback copy.
Hardback copy, baby.
So I had it laid out on the table, and they said, oh, that Committee Man Morris, that has to be brought up under new business. I said, okay, we'll bring it up under new business. And the thing you have to worry about is people wanting to adjourn quick, because new business is right before adjournment. And we had an all-day meeting. I got there at 8:30. We were there from 8:30 to going on 4 o'clock. So it was all day. And we did a working box lunch. So people are ready to boot, scoot, and boogie, because everybody's got to understand a SEC committee man or committee woman, we get paid $0. Everybody wants to know, well, how much did it pay? How about a big old goose egg?
Yeah.
They don't even pay for your gas up there or anything.
No,
do they?
you get no travel, no anything. You had to pay to play, though. You know, we had to pay $100 just to be to run for the position.
Party fee.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Really? Just to run for that position?
Just to run for that position, we had to pay to play.
Yeah, pay $500.
But
You had to pay $500.
he had to pay $500 as state rep.
Runs Republican.
And also, they wanted to increase fees on constables. So if Jared Menz is listening, he was supposed to pay $25. They wanted to carry it to $100.
Oh, well, if anybody among us can afford that, it'd be Jared. I mean, Jared can afford it. I mean, Jared rolls large. So,
But getting back to what happened, it came up under new business, and I see no need for them to put people just like my friend Kip across from me, my friend Clay, my friend Todd Warner, Scott Serpicki. You guys do not need to be in harm's way whatsoever. And I just brought it up. I said, I think we need to look at doing away with, Governor Lee needs to do away with this special session and just go to regular session in January.
right.
And, of course, I had the resolution that Giles County Republican Party sent, and I wanted them just to take out where it said Giles County and Giles County, Tennessee, and put the State Executive Committee of the state of Tennessee.
Sure.
Respectfully asking the governor to stand down. And that's simply what I wanted done. And
it sounded like after, I talked with you and actually after talking to Johnny Bellis that it was 100% approved.
It was
nobody voted against it.
yes,
all?
sir. It passed unanimous at 100%. And they said that's the first time. A lot of people come up and said that's the first time anything like that had ever happened. So I was glad.
Yeah,
Even
sure.
I call them my squishy Republican friends got on board.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
that's what Johnny Bellis told me. Johnny's like, he goes, I was really surprised that we didn't have anybody that either wouldn't vote or would vote no against it. And so Johnny was telling me, he's like, he was surprised, even though Johnny's like you, Chris. Johnny's
Shout out Johnny Bellis.
Yeah, Johnny's good feller.
Yes, he is.
I like Johnny, and he's very conservative. And
Down there in Hardin County.
God love him.
yeah, they're right there in Pickwick.
The only thing I got against him, he never brings me any haggis, catfish when he comes to the
Yeah,
meeting.
I
He
know.
always forgets. He said, it's
Okay.
down at Haggis.
Oh yeah, my girls love to eat at
Good place to
Haggis,
eat.
but I'm going to tell you something. There's a place. I'm going to tell you a good place to eat down there. You want me to tell you a good place to eat down there? It's it's called the Sheltering Tree Ranch. Have you heard of it?
No, sir. You have to send that to me.
Well, I will, but it's there in Pickwick, and what they do, they serve a really good lunch, and their whole program is based upon helping disabled children learn.
Great.
So
Wow.
they have an elementary, they have a middle school, and they have a high school. And their whole mission is almost kind of like a Yoder's, where they have a little store, that sells.
You're talking about Yoder's up in Summertown?
Up in Summertown, yeah. It's very similar to Yoder's up in Summertown, but yet they're teaching these children that normally would not get opportunities to have jobs or to learn how to work
Children
in places.
with disabilities. That is great.
Wow.
And so we always, when we go through that area, not only is the food good and they give you so much, I could only eat half mine.
Wow.
I mean,
That's awesome.
I'm putting half of mine away.
Wow.
And taking it home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they just do a good, I had for $7.50, I had this huge cooked roast beef sandwich with onions and bell peppers and cheese.
Man.
Oh, Lord.
What'd you say it was called again?
It's called Sheltering Tree Ranch.
Shout out to Sheltering Tree Ranch.
He's got it right there
Hardin
in his
County, right there,
portfolio.
ready to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, I got it right here.
Wow.
I've been, my family, we've been going there for the last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I head over to Pickwick a lot. I got a really good friend that owns Pickwick Supermarket, and I'll go over there. And there's only really two places I'll get my meat, and I'll get it from him, and I'll also get it from Summertown Superama.
Yeah.
And so I go over there and see him, to hang out with him. But he's got a great place too over there. And when we go, I always want to stop there and support these people.
Yeah. Well, that's a great thing. But, to get back to the
go back on.
SEC meeting,
Yeah.
I had the idea and I wanted this done. I think the governor's totally wrong.
Sure.
Because our God-given Constitution doesn't say anything about red flag laws.
Correct.
And I'm just upset that we continue to march down this path of ill repute, as I would call it, lack of a better word. But I just got upset with my fellow Republicans up there, and I said, well, all we do is sit around on our do-nothings. We lean back on our elbows to do less, and we need to get up and help these legislators, both the House and Senate. We're putting them in harm's way. And there's no other state
No.
on August 21st that will be in session. So I said all the crazies and the certifiable nuts will inundate Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
And I just don't want to see this happen. And I think, it's supposed to come out. Now, I want to tell you that Tyler Burns, who works for the SEC, is supposed to be getting this out and sent to the governor's office. And I thought it would be done today, and all 66 members of the SEC would be copied. But I hadn't seen anything yet. If I don't get something by noon tomorrow, ring, ring.
That's right.
We're going to beat this drum because we can't play around.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main things that I wanted to see done. And of course, under new business, I let some other people talk, and I thought, I got to jump on this before they adjourn.
Right.
I also wanted to bring up that I have no confidence, none whatsoever, Kip, in our lieutenant governor. And I mentioned I wanted to bring up a vote of no confidence on our lieutenant governor, Randy McNally.
You're talking about the chief child groomer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. From the Speaker of the Senate,
Right.
Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to put in that, chief child groomer.
Well, it's out there. Saturday Night Live made him famous. That's not the way you want to become famous, I can tell you that.
No.
That's his 15 minutes of fame. But, I feel like that we have got to, as Republicans, and I said this, we're Christians first.
Yes.
We're constitutionalists second. We're conservative third, and then fourth is Republican. That's the way it falls on my ladder.
Right.
Okay. That's the way my ladder as you go up the rungs. Okay.
That's been my mantra from the beginning.
And great. And I knew we'd get along. Once we got to know each other, it's been on like Flynn.
Well, when Brandon talked to you one time here a while back ago, it was funny. He called me as soon as he got off the phone with you. He goes, Lawrence, he says, and he said that about two people. He said that about you, and he said it about Richard Archie. He goes, I just met your new best friend.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Brandon.
I think Brandon may have been trying to get rid of me or something.
Well, I tell you, Brandon's great. I'm glad I got to know both you guys. Richard Archie, stand up. He was just ecstatic that this passed unanimous.
I tell you,
people that don't know, Richard's a West Tennessee director of Tennessee Farms Association.
Yeah, he is. And I want to bring this up too, and I know this is a sensitive subject, but you know what? We don't stand back from controversy.
No, we don't.
No.
So when you brought it up about Randy McNally, it was shut down.
Yes,
by
sir.
who?
It was shut down by the state party chair, Scott Golden.
Okay. And his reasoning behind that was?
He said we're not to talk bad about Republicans, and I just came back real quick. And I didn't know if this would be reported. I learned that we had newspapers in the room.
Right.
But I said, well, it's like this. I'm going to stand. I don't think he's Republican because he's broke the party platform. And I think it's our job as SEC members, all 66, there's 33 men, 33 women, and this is because we have 33 senatorial districts throughout the state.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm under Joy Hensley's senatorial district. I feel like it's our job and it's our duty to keep people in line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing you said, the problem start in the church house.
Right.
Well, it's the elders and the deacons of that congregation, along with the preacher. If you know somebody's going astray in the church, you got to take that shepherd's hook and pull them back in.
Yeah, and I've said this a couple of different times to a couple of different pastors, actually, and I don't know if it was received or not, but it doesn't matter. But, when they'd have problems with their deacons, especially when they were shutting down churches, it was the deacons, a lot of them, that were making the decisions to shut down the churches, not the pastors. And I just looked at the pastors and I said, you have a deacon-possessed church is what you have.
A fearless
Yeah.
deacon-possessed church.
That's correct.
And I think that, we talked about the eternal lake of fire, your second death, and the fearless are number one.
You mean the fearful?
The fearful, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
well, the fearful, I said it wrong, and I apologize. But, the thing about it is, I had a great, I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Wilson up in Murray County. He's the party secretary, the recording secretary for their party. And he came up to me and he said, Chris, I challenge you. And he said, you're already doing it, but be tough. And it's tough love, y'all, to look a person who's supposed to be a fellow conservative and just say, you're not as conservative as I.
Well, that's the good thing about Kip, and that's the reason I got behind Kip. Kip really was my forte in the politics because I seen a young man that was absolutely fearless and was going to do what was right no matter what. And you know what? I hate to say it, Kip, but I wanted to grab a hold of those coattails because I seen something that even though he was 25 years old at the time, he's not that much older than my kid.
He's still wet behind the ears, too.
I know. But I would have liked to have been conservative as he was at 25 years old.
That's true.
I appreciate it.
Kip went with us on so many campaigns.
We did. We went
and
a long
we
ways.
worked hard together, and he became like my adoptive child.
Yeah.
So, Kip, and then
We've had some fun, too.
There was a lot of things.
We've had a lot of fun.
This party got deactivated by the state party.
Mm-hmm.
And, I called the state party chair, Scott Golden, and I said, listen, Lawrence County is too good of a county.
Mm-hmm.
Red County.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we can't let this happen. What do I need to do to help Lawrence County? Will you let me help? And he said, sure. Go out there and find some good people for these offices.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I called a lot of good folks in Lawrence County, one of them being Kip, and we had a plan put together. And it was, and unfortunately Kip got sick, but then we had a roadblock in the plan.
We did.
And then I wanted Kip to run before the redistricting. I wanted him to run as state executive committee man for Joy's senatorial district.
Yep.
Right.
And then next thing I know, Doggett has done stole him to run for state rep in David Byrd, what used to be most of David Byrd's old district before
Correct.
redistricting. So wise choice.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you, Clay.
And,
thank you,
a big
Clay
shout out
Doggett.
to Hey, we don't need to make
Shout out
his
Clay
head
Doggett.
too
Yeah,
big,
no.
okay?
Yeah, no, yeah. Come on.
I
now.
mean, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you, I got nothing but love for Clay.
He's an
Doggett.
Alabama fan. You don't want to give him any more now. Come on.
Well, everybody's got to have their faults.
That's right.
And that's
That's right.
one.
That's
right.
He just got to remember, Tide still comes in big orange boxes, so roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
But and he said, "Why do you have to bring that up? I love it.
Yeah.
He loves. It's always something going on when he's around. He's an instigator.
He is.
And it's a lot of fun. It's clean instigation.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not
We have a
nothing-
good time.
We have a lot of good time. But the thing about this whole corridor that I've said, and we can. Go all the way over to the Lincoln-Franklin County line, all the way over to the Hardin-McNairy County line. Great representation in state reps across there. And, I'm just tickled to death. But the thing is, just like I was mentioning Chris Wilson up in Murray County, I'm doing my dues. I'm paying the dues of calling people out. And I don't have a problem with that because you either are or you're not.
Yeah.
You can't be lukewarm.
No.
And the Bible speaks of being lukewarm
Yeah, Jesus
as a
said, "I'll
Christian.
spit you out of my mouth," and it's
As though I ever knew you.
yeah, as though I never knew you, and that's I'll call it riding the fence. Well, the devil owns the fence.
You're right.
So if you're going to ride the fence, but then you have people, unfortunately, that have shown their true colors and they got caught, like Randy McNally. And that's when, I made the comment the other day. I asked Kip, what does that R stand in front of your name mean? He goes, well, it's Republican. And I said, well, in some of them, it's reprobate.
Yeah.
And we are having to deal with some reprobates.
Well, I mean, you probably. Excuse me. I've thought about this for a while. I'd say Southern Middle Tennessee, we would, as far as being conservative, we'd probably stack up anywhere in the country. I mean, you're probably not going to find anywhere.
No.
I would even say in the, obviously you look at the southeast of the Bible Belt as being, the most conservative area of the country for the most part. I think in Southern Middle Tennessee, we'd stack up against anybody.
Well, I want to say I think our great state is leading the nation.
Oh, yeah.
And is one of the most, it is the most conservative.
Yeah.
And that's why they're trying to make us purple and then make us a lighter color towards pink and start changing us to a blue.
We are the
We're a
last
target.
We are the crown jewel for the liberals. We are the one that's, I think, and you're exactly right. Tennessee stands in the gap for conservative values, and if Tennessee falls, they got nobody left to go after. We lead the way for the American dream. Conservative values, and we're it. You're not going to find anybody more conservative than Tennessee. Now, everybody talks about Alabama and this, that, and whatever, and we got Alabama beat by a country mile.
They are coming in second.
They
so
are.
I want my Alabama friends to know that Tennessee's number one in this.
Y'all got us in football, so you just let us have this. And, no, they're definitely second, but Middle Tennessee, Southern Middle Tennessee, we'll stack up against anybody, 100%.
There was a lot of people don't understand what the SEC does.
Kind of explain that.
Yeah.
We set the bylaws for Republicans for the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, for the parties.
We set it for the state party and for the county parties.
Yep.
Of course, the county parties can submit their bylaws. They can make some things tougher.
Sure.
I think in our bylaws we got a lot of gray area, and it's got to be addressed. And you guys know, and in our senatorial district, which encompasses part of Williamson, all of Murray, all of Marshall, all of Lewis, and all of Giles. I've got 4.5 counties. The bylaws hadn't been being enforced. And a lot of people got hair-lipped with me because I was enforcing the bylaws. Mm-hmm. That says something about my predecessors, okay?
Right.
So, I was very strict about what the criteria meets of being a bona fide Republican, and I held people's feet to the fire. But one of the words that had been in there, and it's now being removed, is called vouching, where a person could come up and vouch and say, hey, Kip Capley he's really a conservative. And bona fide means you got to be 3 out of the last 4 statewide and presidential primaries.
Right.
Okay. So the other day, my dandruff, my hair stood up on the back of my neck when they used a word. What are you looking at? I ain't got much hair.
You ain't got much hair. I'm trying to see where you could have dandruff.
I think you got me beat by
I
just
do,
a little
just
bit.
a little bit, but I mean, I'm not saying
I'm a close second to you. But anyway, they brought in a word called waiver. And I said, wait a minute. Hold on, time out right now. I mean, here I go.
Yeah.
I got up on my box, and I said, waiver is just another fancy adjective for the word voucher. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like you're replacing words, and it's the same thing as if you put lipstick on a pig, you still got a darn pig.
Even if it's at the county fair.
Even if it's at the county fair.
That's
it could
right.
be down at the state line,
It
too.
could be.
But anyway,
It could be.
long story short, they're changing. So
Right.
we didn't vote on any bylaws change Saturday. We will in December.
Okay.
Our next meeting will be in December.
Yep.
It's open to the public.
Yep.
I would love to see these county party chairs. They need to be there. They need to be there. And a lot of things go on that, everybody, and what I'm trying to make the SEC understand, it don't start at the top.
No,
it don't
starts
start
at the bottom
and work down. It starts at the bottom on your county level and works up.
And you know what? People that are listening to us right now, you need to get involved. If you're in Giles County, you need to be at the Giles GOP Republican meetings. If you're here in Lawrence County, you need to be at our Lawrence County Republican meetings. Right. We want you here. We have at the Lawrence County Republican Party $5.
Yeah.
$5 to become a member. We do not want money to keep somebody out, but we have to charge something.
Sure.
And you know what? If you can't afford to pay the $5, we'll get Jared Menz to pay it.
Yeah.
Come fill out the paperwork, and I'll just go grab a hold of Jared's pocketbook, and
write a check.
Write a check or take his wallet
Take
from
his
him.
cash.
I mean, I think me and Brandon could take him. One of us could hold him down, the other get the wallet.
You don't have to hog time. That's all I can say
I
about
think
that.
that would be fun, actually.
It would. Just picture that. Folks.
You guys, we've been preaching this for a long time.
Yes, we have.
You have got to get involved if you're sitting at home. And I know it's inconvenient for some folks. You got kids, you got family stuff going on. I get it. I understand. But I'm telling you right now, today, you have got to get involved. Because other people are getting involved, and they're liberals, and they're insane, and they're trying to take your rights away from you.
They absolutely are. And you know what? How many, and this is how blessed we are, how many of our representatives will sit there and tell their constituents to get involved? Most of the representatives that we know of and we think of, they don't want their constituents involved. They want them to stay home and stay dumb. But here we are, Kip Capley, and if Clay Doggett was in here in the room,
saying it too.
Clay'd do the same
He
thing.
would.
So would Joey Hensley.
He would.
We are so blessed to have. You know what? This is God ordained. Is what this is, to have allowed these men to come in here and have this type of leadership.
Well, hey, I don't. I don't care if you like me or not. I mean, obviously, I'd prefer if you did like me, but my focus is long term. You got to be involved in the party. We can disagree on things. We could absolutely be further from each other on issues, and that's fine. But if you're not involved at the local party, you're performing a disservice not only to your community but to your family, your children, and the next generation. Because I promise you, I promise you today, the liberals are involved. They're organized, and they are whipping our behind on attendance and everything else as far as involvement. Now, they might not have as many people in their little meetings. I think, Lawrence County Democrats, they might all meet at the, Hardee's or something and have about 5 people. But anyway, they're organized and they're involved, and I guarantee you they're going to be in special session. You can write it down. They're going to be there by the thousands. They're going to be trucking them in from here to Washington and everywhere else, trying to take your rights away. And I guarantee you, I'm telling both of y'all today, if something happens to our rights, I don't want to have to say I told you so, because you didn't get your rear end up off that couch and do something. You need to be calling your representatives. You need to be calling your senators, and you need to tell them, if you vote for a red flag law, we're coming after them britches.
Yes.
Buddy, I feel the heat coming off again.
My blood pressure's getting raised up a little bit.
It's getting hot.
We are coming after them britches.
Turned on the fan over there.
I mean, this is serious. We are at a focal point right now in the state of Tennessee where you have got. I'm not asking you to get involved. I'm telling you, you have to.
You're not. You're expecting.
I'm expecting you to be there.
Yeah, I expect.
And I know we've got some good folks that are coming, and God love you, and we're going to pray, and it's going to be great. But we got to have more.
We do. And I mean, I know the very first Republican meeting that Brandon and I ever went to was May of last year. Mm-hmm. And
the Murray County, was it?
No, it was here in Lawrence County.
Oh, you're talking about, I got you.
The very first meeting.
I got you.
The very first Republican meeting.
Yeah.
And I think there were 12 people at that meeting. Mm-hmm. And there were like probably 7 or 8 of them were running for office of some kind.
Yeah, running.
Wow.
And now, since we've took over in January, I think the least amount of people we've had is 50, which is too little. And we almost had 200 people at one of the meetings one time when we had David Morgan there talking about, David got kind of, he didn't do it the right way. I love David. I do. But, and he had some things come against him with the newspaper, putting out some things that were wrong. Got some people, but you know what? Here's the thing. It got people mad. Mm-hmm. It got them off of their couch. Mm-hmm. And instead of having like 80 people there, we had close to 200.
Great.
And it was based on, most of it was a lie.
Falsehoods in the paper.
It was falsehoods and everything, stating that David wanted codes. And that was the big thing, that David Morgan was going to put codes on our properties.
Sounds like a liberal started that.
It did. It was.
It was.
It was out of a newspaper.
It was.
I mean, that's just reading between the lines.
It was.
It was. And I'm going to tell you, they were mad. And see, here's the thing. I figured out how we're going to get more people involved. We're going to have David Morgan on this program Wednesday.
Uh-oh.
And I told David I wanted him to come on. We're going to talk about the special session and everything. Nah, we're going to get in here and talk about codes, and we'll have 200 people showing up at the next Republican meeting.
No, you'll have them showing up out here outside the studio.
Yeah,
you better be careful now.
No. I tell him next time you'll see David, it's going to be August the 15th, because we're actually going to have. We're changing our date to August 15th this time, because we wanted to get ahead because of the special session coming up.
Okay.
Because our meeting would have been after the special session.
Okay, and we need, there's some things that I'm going to be talking about in the special session that we're going to send out to the party chairs and under the direction of Richard Archie.
Yes.
The guy has labeled me the rattlesnake.
There you go.
So... And he says he told some boys up in Sumner County, they've started the Sumner County Constitutional Conservatives organization.
Yeah, and we met those guys. We met those guys a couple of weeks ago,
That's right.
Chris.
And he said, hey, listen, I want to introduce you to somebody that is mean or meaner than y'all. And I didn't know who he was talking about. And he brought me over there, and I thought, oh, Lord. But I'm going to tell y'all, be ready, because if this special session goes through and it's in violation of my constitutional rights, both state and federal, you ain't seen nothing to the December SEC meeting. And then we're going to separate the men and women from the boys and the girls. Mm-hmm. I promise you.
Right.
Because it's time to hold people accountable for their actions. And if you are a Republican, you better act like it. Okay?
Either that or go join the other side. God love you, that's fine. But don't claim to be something that you're not. And I tell you that's again, we've been beating up on McNally, but Randy McNally stopped from the Bible from being the actual book of Tennessee.
The state book.
The state book. I mean, he stopped that from
that
happening.
bill. That's before you were on.
Yeah, I wasn't there in that time.
And
That
from
was,
the Senate, it had passed the House.
That was Jerry Sexton.
It was Jerry Sexton's bill, and great. There's
Shout out to Jerry Sexton.
Another great conservative. He's no longer in the House, but man, he was as stout of a conservative as you kill.
But you know what? That is when you have a chance to give honor to our Lord and Savior, and you go do that. That right there tells you something about the man.
There was a red flag right there, wasn't it?
No,
to the legislators.
I don't think you like the word sodomite in the Bible. Is probably what happened, or reprobate.
Okay. Well,
That's
you're probably right.
I mean, so that may be why he didn't want to have the Bible as the official book.
There's a lot of good things, and there's going to be some bylaws. I've got some things submitted to the bylaws committee that I want to see happen, and if they don't happen on the I started to say 22nd. If they don't happen in December, I'm going to be bringing it up. Hey, the bylaws for our party, for our state, need to be stronger. They need to remove the loopholes. Like a lot of laws on the book have those loopholes or gray area. We need to be black and white. No second guessing. You know exactly what the bylaws say.
That's correct.
And that's where I'm going to stand, and it's going to be tough love, I imagine.
Well,
but got a great guy that's over the bylaws committee, that chairs that committee, Jerry Bellis over in Hardin County. I'm on the election integrity, and Jerry chairs that committee.
You mean Johnny?
I mean Johnny. I'm sorry, Johnny. I'm sorry. We were talking about
you're going to have to get him for that, Johnny.
We were talking about Jerry Sexton a while ago, so it's easy to do. But I got some great news. I met an individual there Saturday, and he was one of those that had that look that you've seen him somewhere before. So I just asked him out of the blue. I said, have I met you before? Who are you? And he came up to me, and his name is Antoine Bohannon. And he is a congressional candidate as a Republican in 2024 against the only U.S. congressman that we have that's still a Democrat in the great state of Tennessee over in Memphis.
Yep.
Mr. Steve, well, I ain't giving him the title. Mr. Steve Coyne.
Mrs.
Total idiot.
Yeah, Mrs. Yeah.
And this guy, he's got some credentials. And Kip, I want you to get to know him.
Yeah.
He's a United States Navy chief, retired.
Good deal.
He's somebody. He carries himself very well.
Good.
And his goal, he told me, is to try. He said, that Shelby County is as blue as the Blue Angels. Okay.
Yep.
And he says, I'm going to have to work both sides, but I am a staunch conservative. And he said it's going to take somebody like me to bring that area together.
Sure.
And I agree with him. I mean, hey, I want people to get to see him on the radar. Antoine Bohannon. He's U.S. congressional congressman for 2024 against the nut Steve Coyne.
Yeah, check him out on Facebook, guys. I'm sure he's got a Facebook page, Antoine Bohannon.
He's got a QR code on the back of that
does.
card.
Look up Antoine Bohannon for Congress.com.
We got to get behind people that are willing to
if
make
Charlotte
make
can
a
put
stand
that on
like
there
that.
where people can see it.
We do. Does this work in Charlotte?
Yeah, just hold it there for a second.
Get right there. Ooh. All right, folks, you can check it in the camera. There he is. Check out his information. Check him out on Facebook.
Yep, but I mean,
Put it on for after.
you have somebody that's going to come in and challenge that's a very difficult seat to win over there.
Sure. Oh, yeah. 100%.
I mean, that's going to be a very
Some would
difficult
say
seat.
impossible. Some would
Nothing's
say.
impossible
That's
with
true.
God.
That's true.
And I tell you what, and that's my whole thing about not having our Bible as our state book, because He is going to honor the ones that honor Him.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
And
That's true.
You're exactly
And
right.
that's why that's important. That's the reason it just ticks me off so
Well, here
bad.
we are on August the 7th.
Yes.
Special
weeks away.
session is called for August 21st, and Kip Capley has no idea what's going on.
He hasn't actually issued the call yet, has he?
Not that I'm aware of.
And
no,
my
I haven't heard,
understanding
no.
that we learned
He can do it Sunday night.
he could do it the Sunday before Monday.
That's correct.
So it's it's almost asinine for him to do. He's playing games, and Governor, if you're listening, I firmly feel this way. If you got a problem with it, reach out to me and we can meet and talk. Be glad to talk with you.
Right.
Maybe I can change your mind. But I want to point out something that was sent to me and something we need to think about. We got so much animosity. They're not going to let Trump. They're doing everything in their God-given rights to destroy Donald Trump. And, I will be the first to tell you, he needs to clean up his mouth a little bit. He needs to have some charisma about him. He does good.
Oh, he's got a lot of charisma.
What I'm saying, more conservative with some of his speech off the cuff.
Right.
And
Clean his mouth up a little bit. Yeah.
and just clean his mouth up a little bit. I think he's done great. Outside of Ronald Reagan, he's been the best president in my lifetime and y'all's lifetime.
I think so.
But a friend of mine sent this to me and said, I'd love for you to share this on your radio program with Kip Capley and the Kip Capley Show.
Yes, sir.
He said, here's what really was happening on January the 6th. Now, I'm going to say the first one I'm going to read, I want y'all to remember it was $1.68. Price of a gallon of gas on January the 6th of 2020 was $1.68 in this region. But on a national average, it was $1.93. There was zero inflation. Supply chain was functioning perfectly. Economy was the strongest that it had been in 50 plus years.
Oh, yeah.
Border was controlled and secured
It was.
to the best that it could at that time with building that wall.
Oh, yeah.
Taliban wasn't armed with U.S. artillery.
Thank you, Joe Biden.
Plenty of workers to fulfill the labor needs in the workforce. Stock market was at record highs.
Yep.
Now, Sleepy Joe wants to take credit for that.
He does.
But here's where people that's got the 401ks. 401ks on January the 6th, 2020 had record high values. Talk to people today about their 401k.
It's called a 201k now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no longer a 401k.
Well, Biden
and right behind that, just right behind that real quick, and I'll shut up. If the Republican Party won't impeach the most corrupt AG in U.S. history, dirty cop Merrick Garland, after him arresting Democrat political opponents and arresting their witnesses, exposing the Biden family's treason, then the Republican Party truly serves no purpose. Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, we quite literally have a president in the White House right now that has committed treason against the American people. And
on numerous fronts.
Oh, yeah.
On numerous fronts.
For cash gain.
Yes.
For money. He sold us out, him and his crack-addicted, cocaine-loving son.
To the Chinese.
Sold that flag behind y'all out for money.
That's right.
For money.
And nothing is being done about it.
Like he needed any more money. He's been there since
1972, the year I was born.
I was going to say, I can't remember. It was in the 70s.
And I told you on this show that we have a Tennessean to thank for
Al
giving,
Gore.
Al Gore Sr. gave Joe Biden his start in 1972. So we know what the Gores are. We know what the Clintons are. We know what the Bidens are. We know what the Obamas are.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
Al Gore couldn't even win his own state when he ran for president.
That's right.
That's
he
right.
didn't get if he'd have got Tennessee's
He'd
11,
have been the president.
He would have been the president. That says a lot about that man.
That's
but,
right.
Hey, what about Mel Gibson? You want to give a shout out to Mel Gibson?
Shout out to Mel Gibson. Absolutely.
Man, he's fixing to expose Hollywood, and you're going to see them folks run for the hills.
Mm-hmm.
He's on it. He is some sort of pissed, and it's great. And by the way, I did get to see Sound of Freedom yesterday. Wonderful movie. People need to go see it. I didn't realize that the movie was made 5 years ago.
Right.
I didn't know that either.
Well, no, I talked about that at on our radio programs. You know why it took 5 years for it to come out? Because Disney owned it. We all know how Disney loved them some pedophiles. So,
Yeah.
They love them some Skittles too. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's a shame of what our country, the direction in the last 24 plus months that these Democrats have carried this country in, and we've let them.
You know, I tell you, I thought it was hyperbole when he said this. But the more I'm seeing it, the more I'm starting to believe it. But Donald Trump said, he says, the only reason that the Democrats aren't coming after you as hard as they are is because I'm standing in the way. He goes, they have too much time trying to deal with me. But once they get done with me, make no mistake, they're coming after you next. And I thought, he's just talking, blowing, the showman that he is. I mean, let's face it, the man's a showman.
He is.
And I don't mean that even in a disrespectful way.
No, I mean, Reagan was in movies and everything, and now Reagan had a little different approach about things.
He did. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. I mean, I would trade some mean tweets right now for $1.68 gas. I don't know about you, but
I sure would too.
I can promise y'all right now, and everybody listening at home, if Donald Trump was in office, Ukraine would have never been invaded by Russia.
No.
Never. They would have never crossed that line.
Taiwan wouldn't have to be worried about China.
Nope.
And we would not have double-digit inflation year after year since Biden's been in our grocery store. My groceries have literally doubled.
Oh, yeah.
Since 2021.
If you remember back when we first heard about COVID, and you have to go all the way back, Trump put out a statement. It was when he was in office.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we have got to shut down air travel from China.
That's right.
We have to shut it down because that's where it's coming from. And people coming from traveling back and forth from China, we don't know if they've got it. We didn't have the tests yet and all that. Remember, it took them like 4 or 5 months to even get a test to see if you had it.
Yeah.
He said, we've got to shut it down. And the media lambasted him for months, calling him a racist.
Well, so did
against
China.
Asian people.
So did China.
Well, and China.
I mean, I remember.
And then what happened after about, I guess it was 6 months?
Yeah.
Then Fauci come out and said, oh, Lord, we're going to have to shut down air travel. These people are bringing it over across from other countries in planes.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 months. But, it started in November 2019.
Yeah. There's another person needs to be brought up on treason.
Yeah.
Oh, Fauci?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
he needs to be hung from the nearest tree, if you ask me.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm
try
totally
him. Yeah,
agreeing.
no, he's saying try him for treason. Let's get
But
after it.
guess what negative 6-letter word is rearing its ugly head last week?
What's that?
COVID.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
I've been saying
Here we go again.
Not done. If it's not COVID, it's going to be something else. And I'm going to tell you something. We as the Republican Party, Brandon, myself, and others, we are getting prepared. We are not going to allow this to happen again, what happened in 2020.
Good.
And we are preparing. We're getting it prepared for our community.
Sure.
With a lot of help. I'm
going to tell you, our governor stepped on a lot of people's constitutional rights.
Oh, I have no use for him.
Then. So I haven't forgot.
I haven't forgotten. I'm going to tell you how bad I hadn't forgotten. I want my vote back from 2018 because he did not get my vote in 2022.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell both y'all sitting here and everybody listening. If he doesn't listen to the state executive committee, and we voted unanimous to shut down this special session, just wait till December when we meet again.
You know what? I say if he keeps going on with this, You don't wait till December. Why don't you guys have a special session? Let's you guys get a special session. You hear what I'm saying? I mean, that's right
I'm
here.
listening to you. I'm absorbing.
Yeah,
I'm like a sponge.
I know you are. I'm saying that for the radio audience because they can't see me and you looking at each other, and because we can talk without talking. I mean, that's what needs to happen. I mean, we have got to get behind, like you said, we got to get behind Kip because Kip and Clay and Joey Hensley and a lot of these guys are standing in the way for us. But you know what? Guess what? When they're standing in the way for us, we got to be behind them or beside them, helping them out. We can't just send them and say, oh, thank you. We can't do that.
You're right.
Kip, I mentioned to him about when the famous as they become Tennessee 3, and I'm so sad. And all 3 should have been removed, just not the 2.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jody Barrett, by the way, at Dixon, for going against your word. Not only did Jody Barrett go, and did he not, Kip, go and have all you freshmen sign stating that you wanted the 3 out? Mm-hmm. Did he not do that?
Yeah, the letter said, I'm trying to remember the specific language in it. It was something about the most extreme punishment possible or something. I can't remember what the letter said.
Then Cameron Sexton got all 75 of you in a room, and he counted votes before you guys went
on the floor.
The floor. And he was one of them that said he was going to vote against
I'm with
them.
you.
Yeah, and
it's exactly what he told you on the floor. I'm with you.
And then he goes, the reason why I'm going to tell you something. The reason why we have a special session is because Bill Lee is trying to take things to another level because of all the pressure Tennessee has gotten because we're a racist state for what we did.
It wasn't just Jody. There was a couple other ones too that didn't. I mean,
well, I thought there was only 2 other ones.
No, there were 6.
There was 6.
There were 6.
That said that they were going to and didn't, but I thought they said that they were going to wait and hear what was being said first.
About 3 of those 6 were supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I ain't never had much use for Sam Winston up in Williamson County.
You don't want to get, when you count votes, you don't want to count just 50 or 65, whatever it is. You want to get a couple vote buffer.
Well,
there.
Right.
I'm on coattail with Lawrence. I appreciate you bringing it up. I've called Jody Barrett out in every county I serve, including Lewis County. He is a rep in Lewis County.
Yeah.
And I'm totally ashamed of him. Kip, you and I were at a function at Johnny Cash's farm home over in Hickman County.
Yes, that was for 917.
For the 917.
Shout out 917.
917 Society, who puts pocket constitutions in the school. It all started in the great state of Tennessee again.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I met Jody. And Jody and I know some of the same folks over in Dixon County where he's from. And I said, I hope you're as conservative as me. He said, I'm more conservative. I said, you're going to have to prove it. Well, he gets an F.
And I know it's tough. I mean, even Kip's saying this, and you're friends with this guy.
Yeah.
And
you like him.
Mm-hmm. I do.
But, he said that one of his excuses, and I try to break that crutch, that he tells everybody from an attorney standpoint.
That's the problem.
That was he didn't like the wording. I said, listen, that's a pee-poor excuse because he had that for 6 days and never opened his mouth and told Todd Warner, hey, I'm with you guys. We're going to get rid of all 3.
That's right.
Well, he didn't, and he's the one that got us as Republicans by Gloria Johnson called racist. Now this woman thinks she's going to rear her head and run against Marsha Blackburn for U.S. Senator.
And now and now she's got a platform in August to raise money after the special session. So all she's got to do is go up there and act a fool and get money from here to Timbuktu.
It
just gives them an opportunity to raise money.
that if that one vote, and Jody,
there's a couple. There's a
couple more, but
There's
he
a couple
knows how
other
I
votes.
truly feel.
He's the ringleader.
Because
There's
he
a
should have
couple other
never
votes.
told
A couple
me.
other ones. There's some people that are just as
Yeah.
guilty as Jody is, and Jody and I'm not defending what he did. He's a grown He's a grown man. He can defend himself.
Come on, tell us how you really
that's
feel.
his own. That's his own deal. I've told him that hey, you do what you got to do. It is what it is. But there are some other Republicans that are in the same exact spot and did the same exact thing that he did.
Yeah.
So it ain't just Jody.
Well, listen, our hour. Charlotte, I don't know if you sped that clock up
Lord,
or
have
what.
I think she did.
But hey, we love people listening to the show. Go on there and subscribe to our
Please.
YouTube page. Like
WDXE,
WDXE. Thanks to WDXE. And a
Absolutely.
shout out to Strikers.
Shout out to Strikers. Go to Kip Capley for state representative on Facebook. If you want some more information, go to votecapley.com, VOTE Capley, CAPLEY.com. We love y'all.
One more thing.
One more.
We've got our meeting this Thursday, August the 10th.
Giles County.
Elks Lodge.
Elks
We
Lodge.
got Mr. Jim Barth
Jim Barth.
with Restore Liberty.
Yes.
I will be there.
Thank y'all.
Please come.
This is WDXE, W287AA, and W237FD Lawrenceburg. Broadcast services of Prospect Communications.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
We're getting football back.
Live from